Oncology TV here at ASCO 2015. Thomas Baldrick. Nice to have Dr. Chari returning with us from Mount Sinai. Thank you, sir, for spending a few minutes with us.
Thank you.
Let's talk about this phase 2 study of Panobinostat with Lenalidomide and weekly Dexamethasone in myeloma. Why did you decide to undertake this study?
So Panobinostat was recently approved with the use of bortezomib in relapsed refractory myeloma based on a study that showed it increased progression-free survival, but it came with the cost of a significant increase in diarrhea from 8% to about 25% grade 3-4, which is pretty debilitating. And the question is, do you need to give the Panobinostat with bortezomib? I think we've learned already that probably better when you give it sub-Q, but there's really no data about Panobinostat being combined clinically with the IMiD category, and yet there are preclinical data to show synergy. So this study is kind of a proof of principle that you can do this in patients and see meaningful results. So that was the reason for the undertaking, to show the activity and safety profile of Panobinostat when given with dexamethasone and an IMiD.
What methods did you use with this?
So it's a phase 2 study, and the reason we did that was because there was a previous phase 1 study that was already done combining these three agents, but that was limited by the toxicity profile from giving dexamethasone 40 milligrams daily for 4 days, which I always convert for people who are not in medicine. 40 milligrams of dex is over 200 milligrams of prednisone daily for 4 days, which we almost don't do to any other patient population in medicine, particularly in older patient population, which is what myeloma is. And because of that initial phase 1 study, they were able to achieve the maximum tolerated dose, but because it was so toxic from the high dose dex, we basically took that regimen and simplified it a little bit with weekly dex. Took Panobinostat, instead of giving Monday, Wednesday, Friday for 3 weeks in a row, we gave it on only week 1 and 3, so a week off. And the lenalidomide was standard 21 days of treatment. So that was the schedule, and it's a phase 2 single-arm, single-institution study.
So what do you think are the key findings, the key takeaways from this?
I think first and foremost it was efficacious because this is a phase 2 study, and we found that in all comers the response rate was about 45%, and the progression-free survival was about 7.5 months. And perhaps even more interesting, in lenalidomide refractory patients, the response rate was 38%, and the progression-free survival was 6.5 months, which compares quite favorably to the PFS that's been needed for drug approval in the relapsed refractory market. And that included patients with high molecular risk, and some patients, in fact 3 lenalidomide refractory patients, were on this cocktail for over a year. 1 remains on it over 2 years, and I think speaks to the durability of the response. And equally important finding is that we didn't see any diarrhea. No patients had to be dose reduced for diarrhea or even modified or held for diarrhea. And the main side effect profile of this is heme suppression, which as oncologists we're all familiar with, and it just required either growth factor support or transfusions or dose modifications for the heme toxicity. But overall, I think it was a well-tolerated, efficacious regimen in relapsed refractory myeloma.
So what direction would you then roll your sleeves up and continue this research?
I think this study, because Panobinostat's already available, it may be available with a larger study done like this. Could get a compendia listing that would allow this drug to be used in patients. Certainly a phase 3 study could be done, but that's going to be much more expensive, and it would be Novartis's undertaking to do that. And the other things that we're doing on our end at the Mount Sinai are looking at laboratory correlates to determine who responds, why response is lost, what are the critical biomarkers for this pathway, and looking like, for example, HR23B, a nuclear shuttle protein, the impact on cereblon, which has been implicated in lenalidomide. So a lot of correlative work will be done at our institution, but I think further development would be under the purview of Novartis, who is the manufacturer of Panobinostat.
Okay. Thanks again for stopping by and sharing your news, and best of luck going forward.
Thank you so much.